Welcome to the Part-Time Warlords. I am your host, Chris. Thank you very much for joining us on this very special episode. It's our first audio/video episode that we are doing. The YouTube channel's up and running, so please check us out there along with the regular spots. And we've got a very special episode, and I'm joined by two very special people. Last weekend, we had the Grave Calls, so we're here to talk about the Grave Calls 2. Both were run by this magnificent person. Tim, how you doing?
G'day, legends. How you going, mate? Doing well. It's the Grave Calls to Electric Boogaloo. Got to get the full title in there.
There we go, the Electric Boogaloo. And one champion as well with his Warriors of the Dark Gods. And it's Kieran, first of all, before I say anything else. G'day, Kieran.
G'day, how's it going? Having a good one?
Yeah, pretty good. I think I was gonna call you the sixth Ed and Old World veteran. You seem to have played the most of all of those systems, I think, out of all of us.
Probably.
You're the all-round fantasy legend. We'll have to come up with another nickname for you besides Pinky.
Yep.
And we're going to talk a little bit about all of our games. But just before we jump into that, you can see on the screen we've got a bunch of flashy stuff. We are sponsored by Complete AV, who are helping us out with our filming in the future. So we're really looking forward to that. And some more video content coming soon. We are focusing on the video a little bit at the moment. It's taken a while, but I think it's going to be really worthwhile. Also, events coming up. We've got my second event that we are running at Riverwood once again. And it's got to be wrestling themed. So it's called the New Ed's Revolution as opposed to the New Year's Revolution, which was a great pay-per-view back in the day with the giant dragon and stuff. So please check us out on Facebook, any of our regular listeners, back down at Riverwood where we had the Riverwood Rumble. And excitingly in the new year, we got some game days and things that are going to be run around Sydney at a store and a couple of clubs. So it's been good to talk with a few organisers, and I'll send out as much info as I can. And try and space those events out. And Tim is kind of our liaison for Newcastle. So Grave Calls was in Newcastle, the ancestral home of fantasy in New South Wales. Tim, do you want to just give us a bit of a background to Grave Calls event and just some general bits and bobs, what it was and when it was and all that?
Yeah, so started last year in November. It was around the time that Ninth Age was looking pretty dead in our part of Australia, New South Wales. So that's why I called it the Grave Calls. And basically, ran it in Newcastle because I knew that's where I used to live, and I got a few mates there that could tag along and come along for the event. It actually went pretty well. We had 12 sign up, but only 10 show up on the day. And we kept doing events pretty much since then, thanks to your help, Chris. So decided to run another one this year, and had eight blokes turn up. It was the first 3.0 event in Australia, so we kept the points at 3,500 because time was pretty tight as well. We only had sort of 2.5 hours per round. We ran the season pack 1, just the first 3 scenarios, the first 3 sort of maps. Kept it simple like that. It was a really good day. Gave away prizes for first, second, third, best painted, and the spoon. So it was that's how it sort of came about. And basically, the guy who runs the games club there in Newcastle has welcomed us back. So there may be a Grave Calls 3 the way we're going. Don't know what the subtitle for that one will be. I have to workshop that one a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love it when we keep getting sequels. I remember that was our War and Wyong, wasn't it? It was War and Wyong 1, War and Wyong 2.
Yep.
And it kind of you feel accomplished when you're like, oh yeah, I've been at this one and this one and this one. You just have a bit of a record as well. We might go through and just talk about the games themselves. We are in a bit of a feeling out stage with 3rd edition. Most of us did play a fair number of practice games, but as a few of you listeners may know, the season pack changed, I think, 4 days or so before the event, and we did use the updated one. I think even the reference manual / rule book got an update a few in that same kind of time period. But yeah, on the whole, well, we might as well just talk about it quickly, just at the start. How have you guys been going, sort of learning the new edition? Kieran, I know you played a few practice games with the guys up there. How's it been learning? Does it feel like a new edition to start with?
Yeah, look, I mean, what I always like new editions that don't change too much. Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
see, a few little jinks and changes here and there, but so you're pushing where the game needs to be. Things that were slowing down, things like that. You want to see them changed. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this edition, I haven't had as much time to sit with it as I would really like, so I've been sort of learning on
Yep.
the go through games. Just
Yep.
lots of work commitments and things like that. But what I've been
Mm-hmm.
really, really enjoying about it is that the things that I always got frustrated with in previous editions have been fixed. So things like just movement, for instance, basic movement. I always found it, like anyone who knows me knows I played Bretonians for a while, Kingdom of Aquitaine,
Yeah.
and I used to get frustrated with the way that you felt like you were power sliding around the board with the way that movement happened. But
Yeah.
now that it's like
Yeah.
just the front rank moves and everything snakes behind it, I'm like, it's how I've been saying it should work for 5 years. So it's sort of really nice to see that in as
Oh,
a
you're not in
change.
the design team.
No, not at all. I wish I don't have time for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Of course.
but but whereas so I've been pretty happy with it. I like the new spell laws. I like that most of them
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're useful. I like that
Mm-hmm.
even though it's frustrating casting because you feel like you're either risking to try to cast 3 spells or you're
Mm-hmm.
definitely getting 2 spells and
Yeah.
losing one to counterspell.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that it's now like it's a feelable choice. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so that's really good. And then there's a few little grumbles I have here and there, but what edition
Yeah.
doesn't have grumbles? So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, we can do a bit of a review at the end if any of these things kind of came up in game.
sure.
We
Actually, if
just,
yeah,
Chris, I was going to say just to
go
the
for it,
point you
Tim.
mentioned about the rules changing just before the game, the tournament. Basically,
Yeah.
I found myself a week out, sort of reading the wrong rule book because the rule book wasn't changing; it was the reference manual that was
Yeah.
changing,
Yeah.
and this was communicated, I guess, via a Facebook post, and I'd missed it somehow. So I saw these things about the active player gets like a magic dice now, and there's this token that you get for going second. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, they must be coming in the later rules. 'Cause I couldn't see
Yeah.
them in the rule book, and I was still reading them. It wasn't
Yeah.
until the guys pointed out, and I wasn't the only one. There was Lee on the day. And
Yeah. He was very
he
frustrated. Yeah.
hadn't read the rule, like the reference manual. I don't think he had read the season pack. So yeah, it was a little bit confusing there. But
Yeah.
overall, do like the new rules and had a great time with them. Yeah, I agree with what Pinky was saying.
Yeah,
Movement's
there was a
better.
bit of
Yeah,
lost in translation moment when the rulebook wasn't updated. I mean, I figured it out early. I played a game against Lee about 3-4 weeks ago, and said to Lee, "Nah, don't check that. Check the reference manual." But there was really nowhere saying, "Hey, it's actually just the reference manual that's getting updated right now." And I kind of assumed that because of all the layout issues, but they only said it like last week in a post saying, by the way, not updating this one because of all the full color images and all the layout issues that it would cause to change around a bunch of text. So
yeah.
at least we
All they'd have to do
figured
is
that out.
probably grey it out on the website or put it in
Yep.
like an archive section or something like that. Yeah, just get it out there so no one's downloading it
Yep.
until until it's updated. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, we'll talk. I want to talk a bit about list building after because I'm thinking that's like uh, a real big picture sort of issue, not positively or negatively, but just in general. Like, what are you bringing? What are you thinking will work? That's the thing I want to dive into a little bit more in the future. Is what are people encouraged to bring by the rules? So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. But now let's jump into some of these games. Hopefully everyone had some good fun games. I know I had some really close games with some really tense moments. But Tim, you're going to kick us off. Tim, can you talk us through your list quickly, because we are on audio and video?
Yeah, no worries. I'll go through it quickly. I've been taking the Doom Lord as sort of my go-to general for a little while now. I love him being in the big old block of Forsworn down there with the spike shields and just the bodyguard rule, and they can just sort of be a bit of a rock. I like the super dex because it gives him, offense 10, defense 9, and the potion of swiftness. If he needs to be agi 8, he can be agi 8 sort of thing. So yeah, been pretty. He's been very solid in every single game I've played with him. So speaking of the changes to lists, I used to take lots of multiple small units, but now I've figured I've seen my ways with these static combat res and things like that. That's bigger blocks. I thought I'd give them a go.
Big time, yeah.
So I took a big old block of warriors just to fill out my core there. I've always liked Sloth and Great Weapon, although after this tournament, I'm thinking maybe just Sword and Board, like the extra armor save in combat. It seems to do well because
especially for Sloth, right? Is anything going to get through that?
Yeah, that's right.
Might as well make it as tough as possible.
Because with my 10 chosen there with the greed, which again I thought that was a really spectacular unit and did really well in this tournament.
Yeah, love the greed units.
A lot of the time I was just taking Sword and Board just to give them that extra armor save because there was a lot of strength 5 hits coming up against them, and then your 4-up save just gets evaporated to a 6-up save. So having that 5-up, you're just getting those few extra guys to survive. So yeah. Warrior Knights, I tried them this time with Lance and Envy. I used to take them with Great Weapons and Sloth as well. But I was thinking now, just with that Envy, giving them that maximized charge, they get 3 dice to see how far they can charge. Yeah, you generally get a 5 or 6 with that. So, the Lance again gives them that extra armor save in combat. So, Forsworn, they're as solid as they come. And then I needed a bit of magic, so I gave the Doom Lord the Icon of the Infinite to give me 1 bound Hellfire, and then the Battle Shrine with Hellfire and the Grave Calls, because the event was called the Grave Calls, so I thought everyone would take it. No. So that gave me 3 really good sort of pew-pew spells. They're both sort of pumping out 2d6 or 8 hits. And then a bit of chaff. Yeah. You got to have the musicians these days, so they do your command tests, what you needed to do. So yeah. No, it was happy enough with the list. Maybe just tweak around the edges here and there.
Yeah. Oh, have you noticed, Kieran, that he's with his points that he's basically just cheated the new rules? He's like, I don't need a points cap. I'll take a 740 point block.
Need a few more of those banner of recruitment in the Warriors list, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll get to Kieran. Well, you might as well, Kieran, talk about yours now. I might skip ahead because you guys did play each other first round. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to skip ahead and get your list up. But yeah, you'll probably see this a lot. These 600-point blocks. There's a lot of armies that came along had those 600-point blocks, which kind of makes sense. But
there you go. Yeah, all of them there.
Yep.
Was it 1, 2? Yeah, 2 there. Go for it.
2 of them, that's for sure. So this list comes about because when I started building my Warriors list, I wanted to theme it a bit around chariots, and I liked the idea of, like, I had a model with a Juggernaut Lord. I was like, sweet, I want that. And so, like, when I started putting the army together, that's how I played it. And then, like I was saying to people, this list kind of came out of what models I had built and also what I could build, like, paint quickly. And so, like, I like the Chosen Lord on the Crocodile with the Banner of Speed. Just makes the big unit of Chosen Knights much faster, a bit more threatening. Giving him the Talisman of Shielding, so he's a 2-up, 5-up, or a 3-up, 5-up, and then the Immortal Gauntlets and Cutaway Armor, Cutaway, like regen and Aegis and stuff like that, and then giving him Greed and the Entropic Aura. So he's basically going in and going, I don't care about your magic items. I'm going to mess you up, old school style. And he obviously goes in the big block of Chosen Knights. The actual list, I think we actually ended up having to change it the night before because we realised that he couldn't have Greed and go in the unit. I'd missed that. So we switched it over to Gluttony so that he ended up with the same as everybody else.
Oh, yes, sorry. It was the Banner of Recruitment.
Yeah,
Banner of
yeah,
recruitment means you cannot put a character in there, I think it was. They become exclusive.
exactly. And then I'd also missed that
Yeah.
the actual mark's got to be the same as well. So we fixed all that up prior to the event, but
Very good,
that's all good. And then Sorcerer with the War Dice. Again, I've got it was a model that I liked. Chuck him in there with a bit of alchemy, paid weapons, Tyr's Heart, so he hits a bit harder. Pop him in the big unit of Sloth Warriors with hand weapon and shield, sword and board, and the Zealot's banner, just so they've got a bit of extra ability to pump out the hits. 10 Fallen, just to fill up the core and fill up my points and sort of be a chaff unit. Then 5 Chosen Knights, which hit the 600 point cap even without like musician and standard. So I was a bit like, nude unit. I wasn't all that confident about them going in. It turned out to be a happy surprise. But then the 2 Chosen Chariots with Gluttony, and then the Warrior Chariots as well. 2 Warrior Chariots just to give myself a bit of mobile punch. Not that the army needed some more.
How many scoring units that leave you with there, Pinky?
That's 1 scoring unit.
One scoring unit.
In the last, I was playing Dylan, and he said, "Well, who needs scoring units when you just kill everything?"
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah, you do get a few.
It's not. It's not the most ideal choice.
Yeah, some of the secondaries, some of those primaries and secondaries are literally just kill theirs. Doesn't matter if yours is scoring, right? It's just kill their one. Great. The other thing I was going to ask, so you've gone the master. You've actually got the wizard master. I'm finding it's a fair investment now to get masters. So we've got a wizard master versus, the shrine and the bound. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. So the shrine had channel 1 and could take 2 spells. So
I like the utility of it. It's a good unit. I'll definitely try to take one where I can.
Surprisingly enough, with this setup, I was getting 2 spells off a turn, like I'd say 50% of the turns. So it wasn't just the 1 spell. So I was actually kind of happy with my magic setup. Not a lot of buffs there, but a lot of pew pew.
Yeah, and pretty cheap, cost efficient.
I want to say about the Battle Shrine as well. It was interesting they made it exclusive because it used to just go in your warrior units or your barbarian units, but they've kept it like a light troop, so it's still like just very mobile, just like the single model units used to be in the previous edition as well. So it can get around and cast the spells where you need to. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, it helps with the maneuverability especially for the range spells, of course.
Yeah.
Very good. I think you also what else can you get on it? You can just get the armor debuff and what was the other one? Touch the Reaper or something? Can't remember. But yeah, Grave Calls. Why not?
I'll quickly look up the. Boy, I'll bring it up.
It's got some interesting choices. I'm only asking because I know I'm kind of fidgeting with which ones I want to give it. So you've got the Hellfire as well. I don't know if you experimented with this at all, Kieran, but the multiple casting spells multiple times. I think, you wouldn't have too much, would you?
No, not casting multiple times, but the fact that Hellfire works when you're in combat's pretty good. So it's good to even if you are in combat, you're like, I'm not worried about buffs, but I am worried about him taking out 6 dudes.
It's pretty ferocious, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So the other 2 spells were Whispers of the Veil from Evocation and Corruption of Tin from Alchemy.
Yep, that sounds about right, yeah. And the Hellfire is a combat buff, isn't it, in a way?
Yep.
As you just said, Kieran.
That's right.
You flank and I'm hitting you with spells.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think if you cast it first with the Battle Shrine and then you cast it, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but then you cast the bound one is still only -1 to cast.
The bound doesn't suffer as hard as the thing. It's like 1 instead of -2 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it might have been -3. Yeah, I think it might be -3. Yeah. All right, well, let's lots to muck around with the bound spells. I almost went an entire bound spell army for is, but a lot of people online have been saying bound spells are weak. So it'd be interesting to muck around with.
I found it with the dwarves.
Is this a safe place for confession? Is this a safe space, guys?
Sure,
Go for
sure.
it.
I may have forgotten about casting the same spell twice. It has a negative effect for the entire tournament. I apologize to my opponents.
Jeez, man.
Let's make sure he did it the wrong way around, where he did the
Yeah.
bound first, and then the second one is -3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Oh,
You never
God.
got the second one off, so it's fine.
There you go. All right.
Sure, I'll remember that forever now.
I don't have the scenarios up, actually. Tim, if you would so kindly maybe pop in to the players pack and just see if you've got any scenarios for a bit of background info.
I do. Yep.
Yeah, Kieran, did you want to? Well, Tim, when he's got it, he can tell us about the setup. But
Well, it's Frontline Clash, so it was
you got it. Good on you.
the standard deployment, and it was Spoils of War, which is, I think, killing scoring with scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we were playing the secondaries from the season 1 pack, so you'd have to roll them up. Yeah. So in actual fact, I didn't set up New Recruit correctly for the tournament, so what I was doing to work out the secondaries was just bonus points, like negative points for losing the secondary, and then bonus points for winning the secondary. So it doesn't show on that round there, but Kieran actually won this one 19-1 because he won the secondary as well. So
cool.
Yeah.
What was the kind of turning point in the game? What really pushed it towards a big win, Kieran?
Probably the biggest turning point was when Tim charged his foot warriors into my Juggernaut cavalry, and the Juggernauts killed like 18 of them in the first round of combat.
Ooh.
And didn't
I
take
do
one in
remember
return.
this. Yes, I remember this.
And then
you
I
charged the sloth guys into the big blender
weapons.
unit.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I killed like 18.
I deserve this.
What
was I doing?
Next time you're gonna walk them up. You're gonna put the one that is it Van Hels? It's the Dance Macabre that gives you Dying Blow. Yeah, you're gonna get the Dying Blow off, and you're gonna Lesson learned.
Yeah, that charge really helped their great weapons, and helped their sloths. That was a big brain move there by Tim.
It's all about that +1 combat risk.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, honestly though, if you got a charge off onto that unit, I mean that is a success, but maybe not the great weapon.
I was
blokes,
blinded by the devastating charge on the jugs. So
yeah,
that's it. And then it was
goodness.
Then it was my warriors on foot, my sloth warriors on foot, with shields holding his Forsworn and general for about 7 rounds of combat, whilst the Juggernauts ate everything else and then came over to kill them.
Yep. that sounds quite. Yep, there we can see it on that shot there.
Those Chosen held on for so long. They killed 2 chariots and my Forsaken unit.
Wow.
Like, they did really well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Are those the Chosen? How did you? I had to have a closer look. We've got some photos later. How did you distinguish between the Chosen chariots and the warrior chariots?
The Chosen chariots have the big red monster on the front, and the warrior chariots have 2 horses.
Oh, there they are. There you go. I got the shots now. Oh, awesome.
Chosen chariot on the right.
And the white cloaks. White cloaks. So cool.
Shows up the blood.
We'll have another look back at those later. So
this pinky guy is not a bad planer. He does all right.
Amazing. Looking absolutely spot on. But why have they got such shiny white cloaks when they're only going to get bloodied? Like, you know what's coming. Exactly right. To scare them off. Yep. Look at all the blood that I've accumulated on my beautiful white suit.
That nappy sand commercial, that's laundry detergent.
That's exactly
sponsored.
Right.
Yeah,
they may be barbarians,
on the but pinky nappy sand.
Yeah, that's it. Right. They're commercially viable. Good on them. And that pretty much explains that Warriors v Warriors carnage when that happens. Because you've got your, I keep forgetting, is it Forsworn? Is that the name of the bodyguard unit? Are they Forsworn?
Yeah, Forsworn. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
they hold on, but they just don't do too much punch. They don't have a lot of punch, do they? They're just a big kind of
No.
tanking block.
Oh,
Yeah.
also, I think, Vicky, you charged my 10 knights, I think, with a chariot or something. I don't even think it was a chosen chariot. It was just a normal warrior chariot.
Yeah.
And absolutely, like, destroyed them. I think,
Oh.
like, see the 3 guys there. I think I only had 4 guys left after that chariot. I'm like, what's
Yeah.
going on? You
Yeah.
guys have a 1-up save.
Well, I know because I magicked off like 4 of them with the alchemy first, and then went into with the chariot.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
I'm thinking, how's this one chariot causing me so many issues against this massive 600-point block?
Yep.
On a side note, oh yeah. On a side note, my daughter and I were playing just a little fun, silly game yesterday, and my orc chariot died to dangerous terrain. It took no hits from anything else. It died to dangerous terrain. Charge and overrun.
Yep.
Charge and pursuit. 6-6 and 6-6. Good fun. So let's Tim, let's go on to your next game against Mark. Is this in the right order? I don't remember.
No, Lee was next.
There we go. We'll flip over there. There we go.
Yeah. So this scenario for round 2 was bottleneck. I think that's an interesting deployment. I think someone's like right along the board edge, and then the other person can sort of do a bit of a bigger box, like a goalie box around a.
I like that one actually. Goal. I should put it up on the slides. Too late now. We'll do it next.
And it was breakthrough, and I remember explaining what breakthrough was to Lee, and he was all on board. And then he heard the last sentence, which is like, it's not only get into your opponent's deployment zone, it's also kill their scoring units as well. I'm pretty sure that it's got 2 aspects to the breakthrough scenario.
That's the Kieran
and
rule.
Then he's like, I need to. Sorry, I didn't know that, Tim. Can I just redeploy my army? And I'm like, that's fine, man. We're all here to learn. That's fine. So he he went from sort of a refused flank, very aggressive deployment to like getting right back in his box sort of thing. And then I had the deployment where I was sort of right against my edge, and he was right up against his edge. So it was a whole lot of no man's land between us. My scenario, my secondary, which I got for the entire tournament, was Slay the Beast. So in this instance, it was the Hydra and the Kraken. We just sort of like came up into range of each other and just sort of sat at the outside of each other's range. I just kept casting my 3 pew pew spells illegally, as we found out. And they make a mess of elves. As you can see, that middle unit there is the Obsidian Guard, or the Black Guard, or whatever they're called.
Was Obsidian Guard. Look at that.
They don't stand up to the grave calls in 2 instances of Hellfire. So so I went into them with the Knights, and just because they were so dwindled by that point, and I knew I had G6 on the charge with the Lancers and the Knights charging. So took that off, and I kept giving like a nice sort of juicy charge for his Kraken and his Hydra, but he never took it because I knew probably my warrior blocks could fight those off and get me that secondary, but he never took it.
Mm-hmm.
I killed the Obsidian Guard with that nice charge. He just turned around and spanked them with one of his elf blocks there, and that was it. That was the end of the game. I killed a 600-point unit. He killed a 590-point unit, and no one won any primaries or secondaries. So
wow,
that was it.
Okay.
It was the straightest 10-10 you've ever seen. It was we had like an hour to go basically. We all just sat at range throwing spells at each other, and he had two casters and I had a battle shrine and a bound spell, and that was doing better than the 2 casters he had.
Yeah, so, neither of you had ranged weapons or anything.
No. So it was a cage game, but Lee's a mate, and we were just sort of learning. But that was it. It was it was good to get a draw after that. I got spanked.
Yeah, I still find those monsters to be quite tough, especially for when I'll talk about it later. But that Kraken, especially with the high offense, high defense, and distracting, is still such a tricky unit for some matchups. I suppose you didn't want that anywhere near your multi-wound height. Does it do multi-wound to height 3 or is it height 4 or 5? Gosh, can't remember. That's another bit of homework for me. But yeah, either way, it's got some nasty multi-wound high strength attacks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so not much to talk about in that one. So, but
Let's jump back to your last game, which was against. We've got it right in the middle shot there. We've got the Kraken. Which I believe you put that model together for your
the
mate Mark.
more,
Is that right? The Moor,
yeah,
sorry, not the Kraken.
yes,
I'm still looking at it going, that's the Kraken. But
yeah. During the COVID years, well, basically our friend group we do a Secret Santa painting competition, or not competition,
oh,
just
how
Secret
good's
Santa
that?
painting for each other. So yeah, we all sort of nominate models or give models for each other to paint, and then a secret painter chooses one of the models that you've put forward and paints it for you. Um, Cordy's, I think it's fair to say he's not much of a painter, but he did win our COVID. We did like our friend group. We did like a what was it, Universal Battle tournament, and he did win that one pretty handily. So I thought I'd paint him up the more as a bit of a prize for that Secret Santa that year. So it was actually the Star Wars toy that
Yeah.
I've just stuck on a base and put some extra paint on it and things like that. Put like I think it was my daughter's hair clip, which had some nasty teeth when you turned it sideways inside the actual mouth, and put a whole lot of blood for the blood god in there to make it look pretty gruesome. Um, so
Sick mini.
yeah.
Looks great.
So this game again, it was pretty cagey. Like I think Mark's playstyle, he likes you to sort of come into his trap and then he'll hit you in the flank sort of thing. He put some succubi and the succubi riders on I guess my left flank at the bottom of the screen there, and again those three spells illegally were able to kill them, and then the Doom Lord and his unit, you can see he's a little worse where he had all his bodyguard in the first shot on the left there. On the second shot he's only got the two friends left, but he was able to take care of those units pretty handily, and then sort of start to threaten his two casters, which are those two big demons, the Moor and the other demon there. So yeah, my battle shrine, which is those the floating skull there, was able to just keep hounding the Moor and hounding the other caster with spells, and eventually he lost both of them because of the spells, and also because of he kept rolling miscasts. He basically Cordy maxed out his magic dice every turn. I don't know what his magic setup was, and being demons as well, but he was getting 11, 13 dice a turn sort of thing. So he rolled quite a few miscasts, and that ended up dooming both his spells. So then we could sort of both be a bit more aggressive on the right there. He needed to push for points, and I knew he didn't have that sort of spectral blade spell, which was AP4 anymore, sort of thing. So yeah, it was a bit of luck there, and I was able to sort of wrap up the rest of the army. I mean, I had a fair bit of points out on the right there, so it was a good game, and I got a bit lucky in the middle to win that side, and then that helped me win the other side.
Yeah, Mark's magic setup was two wizard masters who were also like giant demons, and I think that means you get essentially 6 extra dice. I think it is 2 and 2 for each wizard master, 1 for being a demon and 1 for being the active player. So it's pretty hilarious the amount of dice he was chucking at his 2 versions of his 2 spectral blades.
Yeah, so Hellfire with strength 6 but no AP, it's not that great against something like Pinky's army, but against elves, which have usually sort of a 5-up save, and then against demons, which just have a 5-up Aegis save, and they're only usually tough 3 for the most part. They're pretty good spells. And then the Grave Calls as well as 8 strength 5 AP2. So that's a really good magic setup for this sort of army and for elves as well. So yeah, it helped me a lot in this game. Illegally.
Were you going to add something there, Kieran?
I was going to say, I think one of his Greater Demons channels 3. I feel but I might be wrong with that. I wouldn't. No,
and he has a cap. It increases the cap that he can have. So normally it's double whatever the card says, but his is double +1. So you're right. He is getting I think he could technically get a 15.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. He can put so many down. You're like, what?
You guys may have seen the Warriors book with a couple of tweaks to compensate for the new rules, where you could store a die, but Warriors with that item can store 2 dice now. So possible to get a big phase with Warriors as well when the channel shenanigans that are going on.
I think Kieran and I both took that unit in the Warriors book. That item called Immortal Gauntlets.
Mm,
And I think in the previous edition, you had to store just a flux token or whatever, a veil token.
And now it's a whole dice.
But now it's a whole dice, so
Yep.
it's 3 times as bad as it used to be. So I'm not sure if I'd take it again. I only used it once. It was very good against demons.
Yes.
But yeah, other than that, I didn't use it the whole tournament. Yeah.
Is it for a round? It's just a round or a turn? It's for one turn, isn't it? That you get the flaming or the divine.
Or magical, yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting with I kind of I played vampires, by the way, if I didn't mention it. But for vampires, it's kind of a bit scary because I've got a mixture of saves. I've got all 3 types of saves, or 2 types, I should say. So it is a little bit scary from my perspective, but absolutely having to save the die, spend the die, when you've got things like maybe like Entropic Aura, which basically could do that for you anyway.
Yeah.
Turn off your Death Cheater, turn off your Destiny's Call. It's pretty. Yeah, Entropic Aura is probably a bit. I use that heat. It's probably one of those items that's maybe a little bit convenient for what it does.
Yeah,
I think fantastic. I think it's good because at least it hurts you as well. Like,
absolutely,
it's not awful, but I think it's pretty strong.
You can only take it on the you can only take it on the Lord. You can't take it on the Doom Lord. Yeah,
correct. Yeah,
and you yourself, you're probably just taking what, like a halberd or paired weapons, or what was your choice?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was just going to say last till the end of the phase. I just checked it.
Oh, so not even a turn.
Yeah, not even a turn. No.
Okay, that is risk. That's risky. Yeah. Sorry, Kieran. What were the weapons that you had?
That's okay. I think he was actually just like hand weapon and shield on the day. But I usually try to take him with greed, so he gets the weapon master.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a really good combo. Yeah. All right, so there we go. We've zoomed through there. There's the 1 unit trade off.
Yeah, that's it. That was the main thing happening in that game. I should mention as well that Mark's army is painted by Kieran. Well, most of it is. Other than that, more fantastic. And maybe the other demon there. But yeah.
I joked with him that they've got a sort of a Martian sort of look. They all look like they're from Mars.
It was
the red dust.
I speed painted it would have been like a 4,000 point army in like 2 weeks with a bit of help from the guys.
How did you even? Oh, amazing!
A lot of airbrushing.
He's a machine.
Of course. Well done, Kieran. Yeah, you're getting right up there with the number of armies and builds that you've done.
Yep.
We've gone through your list, the Chariot Star, and there was your matchup against Matt. Can you talk a bit through this matchup?
So this is a pretty interesting matchup for me because there's so many units and a lot of them are very tough in terms of like the amount of killing that they take to get through them. And Matt's a good player. He's certainly someone he's pulled it out of the bag a few times, but we've got a good track record of sort of wins and losses against each other, so that was nice. Going into this game, it was the deployment with a big middle and big edge, so I was like on the little edge. I was sort of held right back, and you can kind of see from left to right there he's got like light troops with spears, big unit of great swords, big unit of knights in the middle there with the Elector with the sword that auto wounds and ignores armor. His BSBs on that left-hand unit of great swords too. Then we've got another unit of light guys, another unit of great swords, and then out on the flank we've got pistoliers, and the shrine behind that gives them plus agility and things. And so I think that photo's taken just after my first turn, or I'm in the middle of my first turn, just moving up. And I kind of just pushed forward, and I thought, this game, I want to get into combat. I want to get stuck in, and I want to try to pin as many units as I can, and try to, because I was like against even regular spears, chosen chariot's going to kill sort of 4 or 5 a turn. He's probably going to do maybe 1 wound, so I should chew through the unit and break it before I die. So that was my thinking. I'm like, we'll see how it goes. And I sort of moved up a bit, and then he moved right up. He ended up moving quite aggressively and brought his cavalry unit into. I think he gave me a 5 charge on my chosen cav, and so he had the 5 plus the charge on the chosen cav. He had the big unit of greatswords, and he had the 2 spearmen, and all on the other side of the ruin there. And he was like, basically, come at me, because if you charge the big unit of cav, you're going to get flanked by a ton of the light spears. And I was very cavalier. I was like, in my head, I'm like, this is going to be a really tough fight. My chosen are tough, but I don't think they're that tough. I'll just throw everything at the cavalry unit, and I tried to like send chariots at the spearmen as well to hold them.
Yep.
But it turned out that none of the side charges made it. Only one chariot and the chosen went into his cavalry, and so I was going to cop a flanking from both of the other units. And so he went in with the other units. I think his static combat res was something like 16. Like, it was pretty high. But then, we worked it all out.
Did you say 16?
Something like that. Yeah, it was really, really high. Because the side units,
it could be double digits, yeah.
Exactly, because he had like flank 4 ranks, like 4 banners, including the BSB.
Holy moly.
A few other things, and there's quite a bit in there. So I was like, and then the spearmen in one flank did nothing, no wounds. Spearmen in the other flank did no wounds. My cavalry, my lord turns off his lord's magical weapon, so his lord did nothing. My chosen cav killed, I think it was 10 of his knights, and my chariot killed something like, I'm trying to remember. I killed a lot, basically.
Wow, 10 knights going.
Killed 10 knights, and then like a bunch of the greats.
It's a lot of rolls, isn't it? Because are they T3 knights and Res 3 knights? I think they are, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to soak up a lot of wins.
I'd gotten the Neg 1 armor spell off on him, and
well done.
Yeah, it was like the one I needed to get through. But I think I ended up winning the combat by maybe 6. After killing a bunch of spearmen on the flank and stuff, with the chariot. And then the spearmen stuck, but the cavalry broke. And because the juggernauts weren't pinned by spearmen, they overran and took out the general. And then the game just turned into this kind of cluster in the middle where everything was charging everything. And it was just like slowly killing everything. And I think he ended up almost getting the juggernauts. I think I had 1 juggernaut on like 2 wounds left at the end of my lord. But because they could pretty much walk into anything with impunity and just eat it, add 6 or 7 to the combat res every time, and it's just like, oh, there you go, that's unit's broken, off you go. So it became a really rough game for him after losing the general and the BSB pretty early on. But it was like, it ended up being quite a good game, and it was still like all the way to the end where we were maneuvering to not like maneuvering overruns and trying to make sure that we weren't exposing too many flanks, because he's got so many units and they're so good at flanking that it was quite tricky. So, but it was also one of those games where I learned it's better if his spearmen charged me, because they're way weaker if he's charging me than if I'm charging him.
They lose the AP3, is that right?
Yeah, no AP3 and no extra rank. So it's like...
That AP3 is really potentially strong.
Oh, absolutely. And even though I'm toughness 5, except the chosen toughness 4, but the chariot's toughness 5, even with that, it means that if he manages to wound, he's definitely getting through.
Yes.
So, but it's a great game. Really enjoyed it.
And if they get the steadfast +1, it can potentially be pretty dangerous. Luckily, they're just They're just humans. Although they do have that offense defense. I think, is it the offense defense or is it offense agility buff from the wagon? I have to.
It's offense and agility.
Okay. Yep.
And that with all of the, because he always had the
That's very
+1
good.
to
Yeah.
wound because he had so many ranks as well. So
Yeah.
that was like an uphill struggle. It's always +1 to wound.
Oh well, you fought through it. I'm just imagining the Return of the King scene where Aragorn charges at the Black Gate. He's just like for Frodo, and it's just him running.
Yep.
Everyone else just is like, nah, I'm too tired, mate.
Yeah, you do
Get
it. It's all
going.
good.
We'll catch up with you later.
Yep.
Luckily, it was the strongest unit that got in. So.
That's right. That was literally, it was like, oh, well, at least they made it.
So this sets up the matchup with Dylan. So
So we're
you got
going at the
11-9.
This is the interesting game. So Dylan's list's got the Dragon Mage, it's got the Frostfire Phoenix, it's got a big unit of like 38 Spearmen, 20 Lothan Sea Guards, 16 of the Queen's Guard Archers, I think, the Koenig Tower Mage, and the BSB who goes in the Sisters, and he's also got the 10 Dragon Princes with the banner that steals one of my magic dice.
I hate that banner. Oh my god, I hate it.
And
it should be like a 100-point item.
Oh, absolutely. And then both of the Spearman blocks have the +1 to charge, +1 strength banner, or whatever it is. So, you know, they're pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
But we'd played the game as a warm-up match, like a couple of nights beforehand. We'd actually played it.
Yep.
And I had just eaten him alive. And it was like we had the big unit of 35 Spearmen charge the Juggernauts. The Juggernauts destroyed them. And so they kind of mopped up around after that. And so we were going to this game and he was a bit like, what are we going to do, you know?
Yeah.
And it ended up being a very cagey game because we both knew what each other could do. We both knew the outcomes of a lot of the fights. And like that fight you're seeing there was me sort of baiting him into the middle because he was trying to make my Juggernauts charge his Spearmen because he wanted me to charge him because obviously he's buffed on the Spearmen. So he went in and destroyed the things, but I was like, I wanted the Spearmen in the front, and I was like, I'll accept charging them with the Juggernauts because I can get a flank with 2 chariots. So went in with the chariots, went in with the Juggernauts, everything went in. I think I killed there's 38 of them to start with. He had 4 left after the charge. So there wasn't many Spearmen left.
This is one of these things where the every roll comes up a 6 with all the impact hits and all the
yeah, that's it. And it was like the Spearmen, a lot of the Spearmen got to fight back against the Chosen, which was good. Because of their same, I think they're the same initiative when I'm charging him or something. But
they're initiative 7, I think. They're initiative 7 on the charge and 6 otherwise.
It's pretty, they're pretty solid. And I think he killed a Chosen. I believe much obliterated the unit, a couple of good overruns. And then the whole game sort of turned into me trying not to get charged by his Dragon Princes because I knew that they could take the Chosen out. And then
and there's a Nova Flare guy in there as well. Ooh.
Yeah. And then trying to get as many of his guys as I could. And so at the end of the game, I think we were similar to Tim's game against Lee. Like he'd killed all of my chariots and my Forsaken, and I'd killed his Spearmen, his Sea Guard, his Queen's Guard, and his Dragon Mage, I think. And I just couldn't catch his BSB or his Mage or his Phoenix, so it was just like dancing in circles in the middle, trying to like get around it. So it ended up being pretty much spot on 10 or draw on the points, and then I won the objective, which I think I had to kill one of his monsters. I think it was his Sorcerer Lord. Oh no, sorry, my apologies. He lost his objective because we both achieved it, but then he lost it because he had to keep 2 units alive, and I'd killed the Sea Guard. So I got the objective.
So that got you that pick,
Yeah, and so it was like, it turned out to be a really great game, and like absolutely a turnaround from our first game, where, you know, it's one of my favorite things is to get a draw when I'm playing, and Dylan's one of my best mates, so it's always good to get that draw against someone who you like, and you're playing him in that last round. I'm like, it's a sign of a good game to me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, that I was lucky enough to have a couple like that in the warm up against Lee and my mate Stu, who we'll see at the Riverwood event, who has never played in ninth age tournament. So
Nice.
that's gonna be awesome. But yeah, sometimes because I'm playing or at least learning the rules quite a lot, it gets a bit lopsided with some of the matchups. And our last one, our third Preno one, was I think it was 11-9, just like this, I think, to him. So
nice.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. You don't want it to swing too heavily. Here's a few beauty shots of your awesome army with all the blood-soaked clothes and swords and maces and some old school. Talk to us about those minis that you're using for your Fallen. There's some cool old school minis there.
Yeah, so they're just pretty much they're all old, as far as I'm aware. They're all old original, even like pre-slaughter base G-dub minis. There's some slaughter bases, some not slaughter based. One of them, the second from the left in the front ranks, there's the original Harry the Hammer mini, one of the first Warriors Chaos ever made, so he's pretty cool. I actually got them in about, I think it's another 20 or so. About 6 years ago, one of my brother's theatre friends bought a storage unit in a estate sale.
Oh yeah.
And it was full of furniture and stuff because he wanted the furniture for his theatre stuff.
Yeah.
But he found like a huge cabinet full of old miniatures. And so he rang me. He's like, hey, he rang my brother and said, do you know anyone who wants these? And my brother contacted me and said, hey, look, he spent a lot of money on this and he's, maybe you know what they're worth because he might want to sell them.
Yeah.
And so we had to look through it and it was like full of, first edition trader minis and like second
not
edition
worth anything.
40k stuff.
Yeah.
And it's all like that's
real life storage wars episode.
Absolutely. And like those guys there in the picture, that's how he painted them. Like whoever had previously owned them were like painted them beautifully in the original colours with the original techniques, and they're all really nice and they hold up well. And there's like
some sort of sad story there, isn't there? Where he couldn't afford to pay his storage on his nice Warhammer models.
Exactly. But like, we ended up. He and I think I sold about probably 90% of what he had, and the sale from that actually paid for the storage unit like 3 times over.
Really?
So he made quite a bit of money on it.
These OG sort of, gosh.
Yeah, because there was some really rare stuff there. There was like 5 sets of Battle Kingdoms or whatever it is, that board game that came with all the old Empire and Orcs and stuff.
I've sold one of those on eBay. They go right. Yeah,
that's it. And then like in like some beautiful scenery, all this hand-painted old scenery and a castle and D&D miniatures, and just there was like a lot of really nice stuff there. And if I'd been in a better financial set, I might have bought heaps of it. I'd have been like, I'll give you money for that. That's it. But as a gift at the end, because I'd sort of kept the Warriors back, because I said, I'll wait until we see how everything else goes, and then because I wanted to buy the Warriors. And he was like, dude, just take them. It's like he just gave them to me as like a thank you for selling the stuff for him. So
brilliant.
I was really happy, and I've got these beautiful Warriors miniatures.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. That's a cool story. It's like it's the age old, what happens to my stuff when I pass away? Well, Kieran sells most of it.
Yeah, that's right. To people who will love it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, glad I asked that question. That's great. All right. So we'll finish off with looking at a couple of my games. I did get together my Vampire Covenant fully-ish painted. No, they are fully painted, but I've been chopping and changing the units. So it seems like every tournament I've got a new unit to touch up and paint. So this tournament I got together, I think it was the Vampire Knights had been finished off, and the Court of the Damned was a bit of a rush to finish as well. But there's my army there. I've got very similar to what I put in my old list, new list video. Just because we had to bring it down to 3,500, I had to swap around something. I can't remember what it was right now, but the Court of the Damned definitely was not in there. And I had bang on 320 points, and I was like, oh, Court of the Damned or Altar of Undeath, and I just thought Court fit the motif a little bit better. So the Lamians and a proper Lamian, as in 2 Lamian characters, one on I'm going to call it a mini dragon. It's a monstrous revenant, but it's a carnosaur with wings. And then big block of skellies, a big block of bat swarms. So instead of going little blocks, I found that they weren't very useful. I've gone with the one big chunky one, and that worked out pretty well. The dire wolves, who now hit like a bunch of motorbikes on the charge, not a truck, but they're pretty nasty on the charge. I think they put out 25 strength 4 AP1 attacks, I think it is.
Right.
Yeah, so 25 attacks on the charge at strength 4 AP1. So they're going to
nice.
AP2. Oh, so good. And then the Baronites with the Black Standard and the Lamian Commandment Lord goes in there. So we've got the Beat Stick and some Vampire Knights and Great Bats, who were a really good addition as well. But I grudged Dylan, of course. I decided to grudge Dylan because he slapped me around with that very similar elf list that we spoke about earlier. Here's a couple shots from our game. And I was very lucky it was a 10-10. It may have been an 11-9 to him. I don't remember about the secondary thing, Tim, but it was super close anyway. I think I may have also forgotten that he killed my lord later in the game in a duel. So I'm not sure we added that 100 points, whether that would have changed it or not. Because he had this Nova Flare Lord that you can see on the left there. And it looks like my vampire is his mates with him, but he is not in any way, shape, or form. We were kiting each other for 50%, 60% of the game. You can see my Great Bats there and my Lord jumping in. You might notice that the Vampire Lord on the mini dragon has got 2 wounds left already, and this is like turn 2 or turn 3. Because in one turn of shooting, the Maiden Guard did 3 wounds to a res 5. Only has a 4-up, but still 4-up, 4-up's not bad. But yeah, it did 3 wounds in like turn 2.
Oh, the Maiden Guard is so good.
Even without the AP, they lost AP.
Yeah.
And the shots ripped into him. Oh, God.
Yep.
Court of the Damned's a real centerpiece model, isn't it, for you? It's a beautiful model. Is that the one, or is it the vampire?
No. Yeah. That's the Court of the Damned. That's not the bbest shot of it, but have a look on Facebook, everyone. We've got lots of cool shots of everyone's armies. I'm going to paint up what would you call them? The countesses that are on the side. Courtiers that are on the side. So they're in the spray box over there. I can see them along with the Dark Coach. So yeah, as I said, each kind of event trying to bring a different model to work on, and this time it was the Court, and the Court was fun. I'm just glad nothing broke on it, to be honest. I think something bent on the top, but yeah, it's been really. I painted it years ago, and I was trying to get it all to match a bit more. So I'm getting closer to my goal of having my armies actually look cohesive. So you can see in this shot I threw away my dire wolves. This is my first game using dire wolves, and they have vanguards. I was very unsure what to do with vanguard because they're leaving the general's bubble, and to vanguard generally. So they went out on the flank, and the bloody Frost Phoenix just hunted them down, and I lured him into dangerous terrain and did nothing. So I wasn't very happy with my play there. And then the Frost Phoenix flank charged the skeletons with the Court, and he chewed through them slowly. The Maiden Guard, Queen's Guard, charged the front of that unit as well later on, but then the entire Queen's Guard unit got massacred by the Court and the skeletons. So they basically kept me in the fight for like 3 turns. There was only the BSB left. Yeah, it was only the BSB left because he was quite tough. But yeah, feed the res 3 elves into the Court, and I did. You guys probably saw I put a comment up on the 9th Age community page saying, "Does the Court give the buff to itself?"
Yeah.
So apparently it does. I didn't know that. So it would have been offense 7, which is kind of nuts. Offense 7 attacks. But either way,
Solid.
the court was all right. It didn't do anything too flashy. I honestly just wanted it there to have a massive combat res bubble. And sneaky good thing, and I don't know if this is the right ruling or not. I think it is, because it's in the big unit and it's going to be steadfast a lot. You're getting +1 to wound on the court, and +1 to wound on the court is very, very good.
Yeah.
+1 to wound on skeletons, nothing really, but +1 to wound on the strength 5 and even the AP1 that comes out of the ghosts, because it's only strength 2. Getting +1 to wound on that is great. So who knows? I might bring the court back. But long story short, I held up that Nova Flare unit for as long as I could. He actually fled with a bunker unit, the wizard and his, I think the Sea Guard. They fled off the table. We managed to mince the spears, but that was all just precursor to the big charge from the Nova Flare Lord who massacred my Baronites. So that was I think I managed to win secondary. It's the only reason it's this close. I think I killed more scoring units. Because I think the skeletons were still there at the end. they were just hanging around. But absolutely great game. Dylan, as per usual, he did play. We both played very cat and mouse because we did have some long range charges that we could pull off. The Blood Knights kept getting hit by molten copper constantly, which is the bane of their existence. Bloody molten copper on my Vampire Knights. They attract it like bloody honey. And yeah, that was very close, and I'm glad it was close because I thought I was going to go down big time. So
quick
lucky
look,
me.
Chris. So yeah, you did win primary, but Dylan did snatch the secondary. So yeah, it was a close game. And is that your new basing as well, man? This basing you got on the skellies and the bats there, it looks amazing.
I did muck around with it a little bit, just trying to make it look a bit richer. It's like a fur brown that I kind of did a bit of a heavy dry brush and also try to what would you call it, like splotch it in, water it down a bit and kind of do patches of it in places.
Yeah.
I'm just it's great because like a big part of my hobby has just been learning as I go, because I was never going to win best of anything, but I loved trying to get the colors to match. So I think I'm getting better at it. So I appreciate it, because I asked Tim for a lot of advice on basing last time, because you had some real cool pop-in bases.
Make me want to up my game. They look really good.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And then we had the Dwarven Throng. We've had Max on the podcast before talking about the Dwarven Throng. So if you guys don't know, Max has basically got every dwarf infantry unit except the ones that shoot in his list, and one Thane, and every other unit has either a shield or a great weapon. And if you look at the photo on the right, you can see the wave of warriors with shields that went up against my my blokes. It was a really it was a bit of a tricky game, because you might see on the top you can see the big old ghost train. That's what I should call it now, the ghost train, the Court of the Damned, because I deployed first, and then he kind of vanguarded and maneuvered his guys in a certain way that I basically neutered the use of my Blood Knights. So I stuffed that up big time, and that really cost me, because I needed those Blood Knights. I think I failed a couple of charges over there. You can see the dire wolves, you can see the skeletons were trying to get a charge on the rangers, because he just has so many drops, just a ridiculous amount of dwarf units. And he bogged me down. And the funniest sort of thing that came out of this game was on the left photo. There you can see I've forgotten the name of them now, the Deep Watch, the Slayers, and the King's Guard into the front and both flanks of that Barrow Knight unit, and I won the combat.
Oh, what?
What?
Twice. So with all that static res, somehow he lost the combat twice, because discipline, courage is so good. They didn't run away, but they eventually got down and won the combat. But my characters were just super tough, hanging on there and just doing a lot of damage to Lamians with great weapons. Just chewing through things, and even the mount did a lot of damage. Actually, normally doesn't do too much, but yeah, Go the Revenant did a good job with his lethal and poison and stomp. So,
Nice.
but yeah, I got surrounded at the end, and I just didn't have enough to take him. I really neutered myself with the bloody Blood Knights, who got flank charged by. Or not flank charged, because I know where to go. I turned around and just accepted that the miners were coming. So the miners dug up out of the tunnels and charged into the rear of my force as well. And only my skeletons remained, who didn't even see a combat. So a bit embarrassing. If you ask Max, he was just like, I don't know what happened. You just walked forward and then they just tripped over the dwarves. He was just like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, well, you had lots of counter charges. Which he really relies on. So that sent me a little bit further down, and Lee and I played, and Lee had some super killy Dread Elf infantry blocks, and we spoke about it before, the Kraken and the Hydra. The Kraken and the Hydra, basically, it was a bit of an interesting one. My Bat Swarms have been doing great. They're just so good at soaking up enemies' damage, and just because you're often hitting on 4s at best, usually 5s. So the bats got eaten by a Hydra, but very, very slowly, just a real slow digestion process. And the Kraken eventually got fed the Blood Knights, but unfortunately that was all I lost. So I was able to get the double charge of my Monstrous Revenant Lord with the Baronites, which pretty much could destroy any unit it touches, essentially. It's really, really strong. With a lot of strength 6 and a lot of strength 7, hitting on 2s. It's pretty nasty. So we broke through the lines, got into the back line. So yeah, it was pretty quick one, unfortunately, for Lee there. And that was all my games. Very happy. Again, all awesome opponents. But that leads us to our winner, and our winner is on the podcast. And congratulations to Kieran. Kieran, you took it out. Well done. Insert applause here. And have you got the final points there, Tim? Are you able to get that up? Just
yeah, I can bring it up.
Because I know you did have you had a close game against I believe it was the second place finisher in Dylan, who we both played. So but very well deserved by Dylan.
After 3 rounds, I had Kieran on 47, and then Dylan on 41, and then a bit of daylight, and then you had Matt and Max both on 32, Chris and I both on 31, and then Lee on 15 and Cordy on 11. So
awesome.
Sort of broke up into sort of a couple of groups there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, congratulations, Kieran. Well done, mate.
Yeah, well done.
How do you feel winning the Grave Calls 2?
I felt pretty good. I was actually really happy I didn't run into Cordy's army because he beat me in the warm-up game. So I was like, cool.
Yeah, it's a bit of luck of the draw, isn't it, on a one-dayer? But it's
absolutely.
Although I find that the one-dayers, you probably know this as well, Tim, like attest to this as well. You get a bit of randomness, so therefore you maybe the top tables mix around a fair bit just because it's a bit random.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not sort of always going to be guaranteed that player X who probably has more experience or is just overall more confident always wins, because it's just a bit random with the one-day format. Yeah.
The smaller points value means that like one big upset in a game can also throw it quickly, because you don't have enough units to sort of come back from it.
Yeah. And no Hugo. Thank God. Go away, Hugo. No, it's a running joke. He'll be. He assures me he'll be back for November. So I'll have to grudge him round 1 or something just to take him off. Oh wait, no, I'll give him too many points. Wait, I'll figure out a plan.
Round 2 and round 3, we played with the Ancient Ruin rules. What did you guys think of them?
I liked it. In round 2, didn't really change much for us, just as we both had it and we were in the middle, and we kept forgetting that we had a spell, and then the same thing against Dylan. I don't think anyone actually entered the ruin, so it didn't really bother me too much.
I
Yeah,
liked
so
sorry, I just was going to say I like that you had the cards under them. I think first game we definitely did use it, but then Dylan again actually, Dylan I believe had the spell because it was the closest caster. Is it
closest character gets the bound spell. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish I was closer because I actually could have made pretty good use of it, to be honest. He just had so many other cool spells he wanted to cast.
I remember in my second game, it was against Lee, and Lee hadn't read the season pack, as we explained earlier, because it was a bit confusing.
Okay.
And I was making such a big deal, like when you enter it, something good can happen to the unit, something bad can happen. And I think we drew the one that was like nothing happens to the unit. But then I did get the spell. I think my Doom Lord got the spell where I could raise back my guy, so I was able to raise back a knight.
Was it Fountain?
Sort of something like that, yeah.
Nice.
So that was sort of a new experience for me playing Warriors, able to raise back a knight. But yeah, so overall, I thought that was cool. It adds a bit of flavour to it.
You know what? In lore, that probably would be happening. I'm listening to those Gotrek and Felixes that you sent me, Kieran.
Oh, yeah.
And I swear the demon is just like, no, you don't die today, and just brings the warrior back.
Yep, that's how it works.
100% would happen. Yeah.
They're so good, those books.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
The other hot topic was from looking at the forums is the secondary objectives. So we've got the primary objectives and then the secondary. I saw a lot of commentary on the forums. I only just had a quick glance saying, "No, get rid of the secondaries. Get rid of the secondaries. It's not meant for tournaments." What do you guys think?
Is it overly negative? Is it okay?
I thought so. Yeah, when I was just having just an anecdotal brief glance. But what do you guys think of having a secondary as well as a primary? And you had to roll for it.
I'm going to go and get mine up again because I did have to write them down a number of times. So I think it was demonstrate superiority. I think I had the master the veil. Is that right? That was a tricky one. I really should have looked into them before the tournament. I know a few people just saying, "Oh, it's only 1 point. It's only 1 point." But for example, I had the master the veil. You had to have a unit with channel within 9 inches of the center.
Oh yes, Cordy had that one in our game. Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my god, I only have one unit with channel, and generally it's charging off, getting points. So it did actually, and I liked this that it made me rethink what I was supposed to be kind of aiming for, and actually not throwing it into combats just to get, like obviously I could get more points by destroying units, but if it's turn 5, turn 6, and there's not too many points on offer, I really got to consider pull that channel unit back, and maybe even in the future try to get a different unit to have channel. But maybe not a zombie bunker because they're not getting to the center of the board anytime soon. But that was the one for me. I think the others were more just kill stuff ones, which really didn't change the game too much. So a mix of good and bad for me, or good and indifferent for myself.
I kept rolling Slay the Beast, which was like kill one of the two biggest in points cost non-scoring units from the opposition. So yeah, I kept getting the kill ones, and it was something to keep in the back of your mind. I didn't mind having that little bit extra. Like Cordy had the same one you were talking about with a channel person within 9 inches of center. So I think he couldn't win it if I had also my channel person within 9 inches of the center.
Yeah,
so it made me
true.
sort of deploy my battle shrine towards the middle of the battlefield. So it was sort of little bits to think about here and there. So
if only I had a 10 wound giant blob unit with channel to sit in the center of the battlefield.
I think the secondaries are good. I don't think they're varied enough. I think every army should have like 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I like them, and I know this is going to sound super ironic given the army that I've just taken to this tournament, but secondaries and primary mission objectives should encourage games to not be won by just killing your opponent.
Yep.
And I think this is where 40k really did quite well years ago when they started putting more emphasis on secondary and primary and objectives and things. In that you can kill a whole opposing army and still lose a game because you didn't do your objectives.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing because it means that you get more varied armies and you get more variation in list building and you get more variation in game style. Because then you're not necessarily you could be the kind of player who just sees the battle as a kill zone, knows how to execute it, builds an army to do the plan, and you kill the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
But if your opponent's someone who maybe they're not so great, maybe they're like the kind of person who's like traditionally unlucky with the dice or whatever, or they feel that way, they can try to win the game a different way other than flat out killing the opponent.
Yeah, by manoeuvring or table quarters. I'd like to pick your brain about that actually in the future because I think I wrote that in something similar in the rulebooks feedback doc that just went out yesterday. I think it was. So something about does it increase, like you said, the variation in what people are taking and how they're playing it could be quite valuable to the long term sort of vision that they're going for. I think they do want to do that. They're just baby stepping it. They're not quite sure how to get it there yet.
Yeah, it just allows them to make units. Like this unit might not be so good at killing things, but it's quite good at this objective,
Yep.
So you take it because that's the objective that you think you're going to do or something like that,
Yep.
And I mean, if you're too worried about the randomness of the secondaries, you could just go for a tournament. You've got your 6 secondaries on your cards or your 3 or whatever, and each round you choose your secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's not going to make any difference if you get to choose it or not.
Not really. No.
No. Yeah.
Even with I was wondering, Tim, because I'm putting the players pack together for New Ed's Revolution, November 30, Riverwood. But you could do, even with a 1 day, you could just go, you start off with number 1, then you get number 2, then you get number 3.
Absolutely.
To speed things up, or you can't double up type of thing, and you just do 1 of each. But as Kieran said, they're not really varied enough at the moment for it to matter too much. I mean, you might get a bit unlucky, like kill the 2 most expensive units full stop, and your army doesn't do that. But I guess you got to build your army to do that, I guess. But then it goes back to Kieran's point. Like, are you just building it to massacre stuff?
That's
not worry about, I mean, I don't think we saw a lot of chaff
no.
At all in the games that we played. I mean, which kind of might have matched up for some fun games, but there was not a lot of chaff.
Yeah.
Not a lot of chaff. Not aside from Max's army, obviously, which is a bit of an outlier. I wouldn't say a huge amount of variation. I mean, yourself, Kieran, have you taken a list like yours with the big Karkadran or Chosen Knight block before?
Not in a tournament setting.
I've taken like Starkey did back in the day.
Stuff. I know I going into it, I really didn't think I had such a great list because I was so used to seeing warriors armies like a dragon, Feldrax, and I didn't have any chaff. And having played enough cavalry armies, I know that chaff's really important for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to go with this because I'm not going to be able to guarantee charges. But then nobody else brought chaff, and I'm like, awesome.
That's true. That's true. You've got these giant meat grinder blocks and no chaff.
And the one time I did get chaffed, it was Tim's little unit of flayers or whatever they are. And that just made my unit more powerful because it gave them the +1 strength.
Shit. That's like a nightmare. That's a nightmare, that just getting the +1 strength off.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Contributed to the 18.
Yeah. Looking at that slide there, we've pretty much already started talking about it. I want to talk about Magic. How many miscasts did you guys see?
A lot, I think.
I would wager a lot more than in 2nd edition, right?
I feel that way. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with my very limited Magic, I miscast 2 or 3 times throughout the event. A lot of the times because I was rolling so few dice, or it caused my opponent to dispel it anyway because they didn't want to be hit by it.
Mhm.
But yeah, certainly Cordy with his two wizard masters being demons. I don't know how else he tooled it up, but he rolled 3 miscasts, and they're all like the ones where everything in the unit's getting hit by 4 strength 4 hits or whatever. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yourself,
rolled a
Kieran, did
few.
you have many?
I rolled a few. I think every opponent I had rolled 1 or 2. Not millions, but like definitely more than I'm used to seeing. I think like now that you're like kind of need 4 dice to get a spell, it's
Mhm.
like it just
Yes.
feels more common.
Yes. Yeah, I can. I don't think maybe 2 times, 3 times that I can remember in second edition seeing miscast. Yeah, just a lot of 2 dicing, 3 dicing. Now it's all 3 dicing minimum, isn't it? It seems like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially with like, well, I'm learning the hard way. If you've got a spell that's a 6 up or a 7 up to cast, tossing 2 dice at that is super risky.
Absolutely. I kind
Even
of
at
think
like a rise, it's on a 6, and I'm like, no, I can't roll 2 dice because I fail it all the time.
yeah. I think like
Uh,
they got rid of the War Machine misfires, didn't they?
yes.
Because that's the thing. So just get rid of magic miscasts. Like
Yeah.
do something else
Nah,
with it. I don't know. Like you don't need
nah.
it.
Well, if you're following their line of thinking, Tim, they probably would have ages ago, right? Because it's not really in the spirit of what, the fine balance sort of engine that they're going for. But yeah, I'm just happy that some of that stuff is still in, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
Kieran, just so that it's not
Yeah.
like it does have a bit of silliness to go with it or a bit of cataclysmic explosion to
Yeah.
go with it. Because you
You
can
could
still get the
keep
big.
it in and just make it less impactful. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to lose. It feels bad if you lose your wizard to roll it, just a bad roll. Like
Yeah.
without any opponent input, without anyone else doing anything, you haven't done the wrong thing. You just roll badly,
Yeah.
and you might not even roll badly. You might roll 4 sixes and just go gone.
Yeah.
Like I just think maybe change up the table so it's a bit more like wild magic or something, or like have a wild
Yeah.
magic table where it's like you miscast, you roll 555s, you cast this spell instead.
Interesting.
Like
Yeah.
just something totally random.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I definitely think there's some kind of back and forth with it, and it definitely got a bit of streamlining. As we're just finishing up talking about sort of our impressions, streamlining is like obviously going to be their number one sort of thing, and it's like every time you lose a die, so basically every time your next spell is going to take a hit,
Yeah,
or you're not getting another spell essentially, because as you said, you're rolling 4 6s. Are you going to roll your 7 dice at that 4 6s spell, or just let it
yeah,
go through? And then I had that happen against in practice game against Cordy the night before, and he cast Spectral Blades, and I went, you're going to hit Amnesia. I think I might let this go through.
yeah,
So he forgot Spectral Blades, and it helped me out a bit. And it punishes the casters who are by themselves as well. So you've got to have like a bunker unit that can cop the hits, which might not be good for some armies, right? Or discourage play of elves on horses in horse blocks.
Bretonians, KOE. Sorry. Oh no, I've lost 8 Grail Knights.
With my 8 die casts.
Yeah,
They're all strength 8, AP 8.
that's it.
I still like wizards being able to go down the hole. I think Quaddy sent his wizard down the hole in his second round. I think it was against Dylan or whoever he plays.
Oh, wow, that's an expensive
Yeah, big
expensive
great
magic
demon
phase.
down the hole. Yeah, so
Maybe
I
demons
still
need some
like that.
defense. Maybe demons need some defense against it. That would make a little bit of sense, right? They
It's
do
like they
come
get
from the
called
veil, don't
home
they?
for being bad. Oh no, I've gone home.
Oh. Yeah, it's. What's something I'm quite
Time for me
interested
to
in is,
go.
yeah, they haven't really put too many l- directly stated limits on like channel and stuff like that. I know we have the excess dice and stuff like that, but really at the moment you could kind of within the framework of the game take whatever you want and try it out. Um, as Kieran just saw, like if there's no chaff, there's no chaff. If people have got no magic, there's like I've seen 2 or 3 lists with no magic even just looking at a video that went up yesterday for an American tournament, and there was like a bunch of no magic in that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess you get what you pay for is maybe what they're leaning towards.
Yeah, especially because there's now no detriment to taking no magic defensively.
Yeah,
It's like, doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. I guess unless you're a dwarf, but I guess is that what they call an opportunity cost?
Yeah.
Just like don't take channel, don't get +1 to dispel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Not having any casting modifiers seems quite tricky.
Yeah, I think this is like kind of what I was saying earlier, where it's like it's gone from I've got 9 dice, I can probably get 3 spells off, and my opponent will probably stop 1 or 2 of them.
Yep.
To I've got 9 dice, I've got to roll 5 at one and 4 at another.
Yep.
Because the spell casting value is higher as well.
Yeah.
And I don't get any bonuses, so it's like, you know.
Yeah,
it's a bit more threatening.
tricky. Yeah, and what's the point of having, traditionally, at least in second edition, Tim, I think this anyway, having like heaps of spells was really good.
Yeah.
Whereas now having heaps of spells is kind of just it's purely utility because you're never going to get them all off.
It's just bookkeeping.
Yeah. And you get more spells now.
Yeah.
In general.
Like, I've always thought the ideal number of spells is 6, where you've got 3 buffs and 3 offensive spells that you can use like over range.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's always been if I'm building a list, I'm building for 6 spells because I want to do 3 threatening spells during my first couple of turns and then 3 defensive spells during my second couple of turns.
Yeah.
I remember in second edition, you never want to sort of leave home with less than 4 spells, even if you're going for a combat heavy army. But you're not going to get 4 spells off a turn, really.
I'm kind of wondering, as I mentioned to you guys with my warriors list, and I'll invite you guys to participate in the old list, new list video for warriors. I think Tim and I have already started talking about it a bit. I wonder if, because I could get a bunch of bound spells and have minimum investment, you could still get channel on the battle shrine and channel on a character by just giving them that 35-point item, and you could kind of cheap out on it as much as possible. I guess kind of what you did, Tim, because you didn't have a wizard,
No.
but still have the capacity maybe with the bound spells to just get really they're low rolls, but technically they are going off, so you are forcing the other person to roll dice, and whenever that happens you could roll low. It's just something I want to try out, even though I am again hearing people going, oh, bound spells are rubbish. You could, if you get the Hellfire for the price of 5+ as opposed to a 9+, I'm like, okay, maybe I could 2 dice it. I don't know what the odds are on a D6 and a D3, but it's above average to get it off. So was it 3.5 plus 2, 5.5 is the average roughly?
Yeah.
On a D6 and a D3. So I don't know. I might try it out. And I think you can do the Dark Prelate as well. I know his spells aren't crazy good, but that does give you the dying blow you need for the Great Weapon Sloth Warriors, or Knights, or either way. With the 2 attacks from the second rank in the Knights is pretty cool. So something to muck around with, might in the future.
Yeah,
you're going to say something, Tim? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I was 2 dicing it the whole tournament. Again, as we established illegally, but 1 D3 and 1 dice was how I was getting my bound Hellfire to go through quite often.
I reckon you got more spells off than me. Honestly, I got so few spells off.
Yes, must have been those microwave dice I was using. So
the radioactive dice. Oh, great. Well, there you go. That wraps up Graves Call 2, and again, a big thank you to you guys. Thank you to Kieran with the printouts, and I think Terrain as well. Fantastic, and of course Tim, our TO, and the Newcastle Legion for hosting us at the Gallipoli Club there at Hamilton, which we again, I can't believe it's been a year, Tim. it's just astounding that it's been a year since the last one.
Yeah,
Which
time
really got
flies.
me motivated to paint and organize some more tournaments and stuff. So again, big thanks to both of you, really. And
Yeah, I think certainly since COVID, this has been the most tournaments I've attended in a year, but it's been great.
really, okay,
Yeah,
I think we may have hit 5. Is that right? I looked at New Recruit before. It's 4 or 5 tournaments this year, which is impressive coming off COVID, actually.
at least
I
four,
would.
at least
Yeah,
four when I did a count in my head. So yeah,
yeah,
that's the only time I play the game basically. So
yeah,
yeah, it's awesome.
yeah. Oh, we're
Cool.
very happy to have whoever can make it, because we do have a bit of a rotating sort of player base at the moment, but it's something we might just be spreading out the events a little bit across the year. I know that we'll release a bit of a schedule, and I'm talking to a gaming club to do some, maybe just like game days, like two game days in March and possibly July or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to have an excuse to get a few people together, get a game or two in. Doesn't have to be 3, just because I know it can be a bit of a stressful day to fit three games in. When you want to have lunch and you want to catch up and stuff as well. Kieran, how about yourself? Have you played both Grave Calls events, I believe?
Yeah, played both. It's hard. I work 2 different jobs at the moment, and one of them takes up weekends, so it's quite challenging for me to get anything that's
Oh
involving a
yeah, that
Saturday.
is brutal.
I'm like,
Oh,
but I try to get
we
to what I can.
appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate it. It's always good to catch up with you guys, and I think
Absolutely. Have a good game.
yeah, and I mean, happy to. Tim's been great at keeping communication open with the Central Coast and Newcastle people. So if we can, run it further up your way, and then keep a sort of a balance, we will keep trying to do it so that it's closer for some people. But then, obviously, there's a bit of a trade off.
Yeah.
So
Trying to find some central location that's an hour from everybody.
yeah, that's kind of ideal, but we don't have one at the moment. So if anyone's got a suggestion, I know that something around. I personally, I find something around that North Sydney sort of area might be doable.
Yeah.
But we haven't quite gotten someone to have. I'm nowhere near there, just for reference. And I think Tim, you're kind of a bit further out west, so it's a bit tricky.
Oh, not like you, Chris. You certainly had to put in the yards going north there. Yeah, further than me. I'm already sort of north a bit, but yeah, it's a bit out west.
I had no idea what was going on. I ended up at Parramatta. I'm like, I don't live near Parramatta. The tunnels took me in 3 directions. I was so confused. But yeah, I got home pretty late on that Sunday. But I was very confused once the tunnels started.
It's got to be a games club or something at the Central Coast that we can sort of like tag along to, like we do at Newcastle. Say, hey, can you give us an extra hour so we can get sort of 9 hours in or something? Not sure.
Yes. Yeah.
There'd have to be something. Yeah, before COVID, we had a perfect venue.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. And yeah, I think somewhere around Central Coast, somewhere around North Sydney or further up, we'll have to investigate. And somewhere, as you said, that'll take us over and over again. Yeah. We'll put the feelers out. There you go. There's our mission, all the listeners, and I'll put it out to all of our mates. See if we can find somewhere that's ultimately central, and somewhere where poor Matt can leave all his boards, so he doesn't have to lug them around everywhere. I think we'll have a chat with Brendan as well, because we do. Complete AV did sponsor us to get some boards and trestles and a bunch of stuff. We got some video equipment. We actually are in a pretty good spot. It's just finding the time and the getting everyone on the same day to get organised. So again, appreciate you guys very much. And there's lots of things coming in the future, and hopefully we have a Graves Call 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Probably,
absolutely.
You reckon similar time of year, Tim? Does that seem to be the sweet spot?
I think so. Yeah. I'll just see, because it's such a condensed group of people, small group of people, I'll just sort of reach out and see which Sunday suits everyone. They run the club the last Sunday of every month. So
Great.
again, I don't know if we want to make it something bigger. We'll see how the guys go. They do run a 2-day tournament weekend around that time as well.
Yep.
Yeah, Kendall was saying, he's like, hey, you should have just come last week and you could have done 5 games over 2 days. But
Was that the 40K?
it was the
40K
40K, but he could have spared the extra 4 tables for us, I think.
Yeah.
So
might
we
be
could
a
do that.
weird one, but would you ever do 4 games? I've only seen it with the old world people, only because they probably I don't know, Kieran, if you found maybe it was the first tournaments for old world, they just wanted to have it a bit slower paced. But I did see some 4-game 2-day tournaments popping up. I'm not sure if that's continuing at all. Do you know about that at all, Kieran?
I honestly haven't checked into it. I know I'm going to go down to CanCon, but outside that, I haven't looked at any of the other tournaments. Sorry, it's been out of the scene a bit.
So there'd be a 5. That'd be a 5-gamer CanCon.
I think CanCon's actually 6 games, 2 each day for 3 days.
Really?
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they are sticking with the 2 each day thing.
Okay, well, I certainly wouldn't have been against 2 each day. It sounds a bit more cruisy than 5 games.
Well, morning and an Arvo one, right?
Yeah.
Gives
have a morning game, have some lunch, have an Arvo one, go home. Sounds great.
Something to consider. There you go. So we'll do the final plugs. Again, this will be up on the YouTube channel, be up on the Spotify channel as well. Please check out the videos, and we will be hopefully releasing our intro to Ninth Age video at some point. I've got that all ready to go. Check out the Facebook page for events, and please have a look at some of the. I've got to take some more photos of that Court of the Damned when I get it finished up. But we really appreciate you guys listening, and anyone who's not in Australia, and there's a few non-Australians who are following on with the Facebook page now. Thank you so much for your interest, and please comment and let us know how or what you want to talk about, and we'll make it a topic in the future.
Hey Chris, who won Best Painted?
I did. Woo. Come on. It was probably because Kieran got the first place, so you could have given him the Best Painted as well, because I voted for him.
No.
I voted
legitimately,
for Kieran.
I think he had one more point than him.
I'll vote for Kieran again next time, because it's absolutely gorgeous.
Cheers.
Congrats again, Kieran, as well, for winning the mate.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Insert round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, champions. Again, thanks, Kieran. Thanks, Tim. And thanks, listeners. This was the Part-Time Warlords. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.